Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, it feels like it's been longer this time. I don't know why, but here we are, episode 9. We're inching our way towards a year's worth of episodes. I'm myself, Danny, joined by Colin, Chris, Super, Holden, and Darth, here to talk about a video game for Seriously Casual, where we play a randomly selected video game from a list of choices. This time, again, actually, we've got two of mine pretty close together. Alien Soldier for the Genesis and or the Mega Drive. How are you fine gentlemen doing this evening?
Yeah.
Doing great,
Good.
thanks.
Sick.
Cheers, bro.
He's sick. Well, feel better soon.
Yeah, sick of you.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. It's been a good one.
It.
I did walked into it. But yes, we're here to talk about Alien Soldier for the Genesis. This was my pick, and now that we're allowed to share opinions, I love this game. This is one of my favorite games, which is really weird because I don't like the Genesis that much. I don't like the way it sounds. A lot of the games are kind of whack, but it does have some hits. Hits, might add, by Treasure, who Alien Soldier is developed by. Also developed Gunstar Heroes. Did anybody play Gunstar Heroes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hated it.
No.
Wow.
Gunstar Heroes is great. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a video game. I've heard of it. But yes, both Alien Soldier, Gunstar Heroes, and Dynamite Heady are treasure. What?
Classic.
I'm gonna be
You know, Darth, you're in timeout. You too, Super. That's it.
Dude, the explosive outburst from Dark.
Everyone's favorite character.
Dynamite Heady. But we had.
Wait, never mind.
We had touched on Treasure earlier because Treasure was actually formed by disgruntled ex-Konami employees. So a lot of the team that made Contra 3, the Alien Wars.
Yeah, you can tell.
That we yeah. But that we did a lot of discussion on in, what was that, episode 6, 5, something?
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, when we talked about Contra 3, the Alien Wars, and like Colin said, you can tell. Like, this is a run and gunner. It's what do they call it? Action platformer, shoot 'em up, run and gun.
Run and gun. It's a run and gun.
Which it's kind of, you know, it's a video game. It's a video game-ass video game. But before we get into our video game, what games have been keeping you guys away from Alien Soldier? What have you been playing?
Street Fighter. Counter-Strike. What's that other game that we played?
Lethal Company?
Lethal Company, yeah.
Yeah. That dance lives rent-free in my head.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I just find myself like wanting to kind of do that dance.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah,
So I'm the only one that's been playing games, damn.
No,
I
yeah.
played the Super Mario RPG remake. And you really loved it. Yeah. You loved it? I mean, I like Super Mario RPG. I played Armored Core. That game is a nice reminder how fucking terrible at video games I am, as is this game.
I've been, obviously you guys kind of know that I've been finishing up Persona 5. Thank God.
God
6
bless.
month fucking...
One love.
Yeah, one love. Bless up. Now moving on to Dark Souls 2 and another video game book club game. Can we talk about Long Game? Or have we mentioned it?
It was mentioned.
Okay, I played a lot of long video game book club game. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And yeah, that was about it for me.
Oh, I've been playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake finally. So I was waiting to upgrade my graphics card, which I did, and now I finally get to play it, and it's pretty cool.
So you're getting achievements on that?
Tifa, easy. Second question.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I was playing Sea of Stars at the start of this month. I might be thinking of last month though.
Yeah, you're talking to me about it. I think it was in this interval.
In this term. Yeah, so I played a lot of that. I won't say anything about that, just in case. And I've been playing Lethal Company and Long Game, pretty much. It's been all business.
You guys ever play Darius 2? Darius 2?
Yeah.
Sega Genesis? Yeah, that game's sweet. That's
Fish.
As I've been playing some of these games for Book Club, I explore random shmups and stuff on Super Nintendo and Genesis.
That's
It's
cool.
pretty good games.
Where in the... Check out Biohazard Battle
Okay.
on Mega Drive Genesis.
Okay.
Where in the Darius chronology is Darius Twin? It's the only one I've ever played.
That's a good question. Darius Twin is frustrating for me because I die so much and then it's like 30 seconds or something before you can restart. It's impossible to play. It's junk.
I think that was like literally my first video game
Wow.
ever.
Wow.
Yeah. I was terrible at it because I was like 1.
Nice. No, you were nasty with it. You were the sickest 1-year-old.
Yeah, I beat that when I was 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was pretty close to 2, but I was still 1.
I beat that shit.
Yeah.
I've been playing a crap load of games actually. I did a lot of vidya. I'm just gonna read them really fast. So I played and beat KOTOR. I finished a few different JRPGs I started throughout the year. Those are Rise of the Third Power, Steam World Quest, and Mana Finder. Played a lot of Melee. Just recently played some WoW today and yesterday. Played and beat Sea of Stars. Almost beat Lies of P. Got halfway through Star Ocean 2, and then Mario RPG.
Holy cow, dude.
This guy games.
Listen, Rachel was in Hawaii for like 9 days. I'm like, I'm finishing these fucking games.
Going
Do you like
crazy.
RPGs, Colin?
What's that?
Do you like RPGs?
No, I hate them.
I heard you like RPGs.
He likes RPGs.
It's a disability.
I heard from a guy that he likes RPGs.
I remember seeing you play SteamWorld in the Discord, so you've just been wrapping up everything this month, huh?
Yeah, I was like, Danny has been giving me shit for like 12 years.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
say, like, all of our
Yeah.
friendship.
So, that was to spite Danny, purely.
I appreciate it. I like when people do things out of spite. It makes me proud.
I finished a lot of games out of spite.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been there too.
Including Alien. Wait, what?
Yeah, including, I know I was talking to him about, like, Treasure's stuff and what they've done, but it was funny to also talk about, like, shmups, because something I found out, they did Gradius 5 on the PS2, and also a game considered, like, the holy grail of shmups that I have never heard of by Treasure, and I like Treasure, that got re-released on Steam, like a port or remaster, called Radiant Silvergun.
Dude, Radiant Silvergun is sick.
Yeah, so I need to check that out, and
It's really fucking hard.
Is
Yeah.
Radiant Silvergun or is that Saturn or PS1?
Oh,
I think
I've seen
Saturn.
this.
I think it was Saturn.
I know the name. I haven't played it myself. I
Um,
had Saturn on the brain for a bit, so maybe it is Saturn. Danny, can I ask which version of the game you played? Which
I
version of
played
Alien Soldier?
Japanese. This right here in my fudge up, right here is the weird PAL version. But I didn't
Okay.
realize I had the wrong one, and I had the wrong core. So my gameplay footage looks a little weird. So disregard that.
Okay,
Looks fine to me.
It looks
because
a little weird.
yeah, I played the Japanese version. We can get into
Yeah.
that later.
Yeah, the Japanese version is the go-to.
It's
Well,
the
so
version to play.
so this game didn't actually see a US actual release. It was only playable on the Sega channel, which was, like one of those weird things that, like, video games, like, whenever I think of those, I think of Radical Dreamers, like
Yeah.
the Chrono Trigger thing that was only playable on, like, a fucking hotel TV.
Like a satellite thing.
Yeah, like really weird shit. So whenever I see releases, but then it got a compilation release in like 2005, I think. And then it got Wii for Virtual Console releases. So you could play it. And I played it. My first introduction to this game was that very Virtual Console release. A lot of Genesis games, Gunstar Heroes, this, there were a lot of, like, that was, because when I had a Genesis as a kid, I played Sonic and Road Rash. Like, I think that was it. because I was just playing Super Nintendo instead because it was way better.
Wait,
Yeah, it's way better.
how long ago did you play this originally then?
Whenever, like, I think it was the Wii store.
Okay.
So it was a long time, and I played it, and I got addicted to the gameplay loop.
Yeah.
And it is. I guess that's a good segue into. I fucking love this game. It controls so tight. I just love, like, right from the very beginning where it gives you the, like, weapon select and, like, shows you what the buttons do and gives you that little space to move around in. Like, right there, like, I feel like you know if you like this game or not. Like, when you just dash across the screen, you can switch the modes, so you can do, like, the walking back shooting, or you can stay and do the 8-way shot, and it's just... And then you get through that, and then the game starts, and the music just starts ripping. Like, I think
this bee trying to knee you.
Yeah, it's just everything. Like, everything looks cool, everything plays cool. It's, like, really fast. You're moving quick, and it's like you can parry projectiles, and they give you health. Like, the whole game is just based around fucking gaming, and it's a treat to play. It's not a walk in the park. You got to be on your A game to really be doing well, and I don't know, it's a video game, and I fucking love it.
Oh, I have a question before we move on, but also don't want to interrupt you. Were you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I know we talk about reading the instruction manual. I did not for this. Did the instruction manual for this game tell you about, like, the parry where you can turn enemy shots into health? It would have been good to know about that.
I think I died on the first boss and was like, okay, I'm pulling the manual out. I need to know what's going on.
So I read the manual, but I have a Swiss cheese memory and things like I can read a manual and then it's just like it doesn't compute for me until I actually just play the game. So I did read it, and then there was things like I didn't understand the dash, or I didn't understand the parry initially, even though I had read it. And then it kind of took me a few attempts to kind of figure it out.
Which is so rough because they're both so good.
Mm-hmm.
The dash is like how you play the damn game.
Yeah, the dash is crucial.
Both attack and defense, as you saw Danny do to the first boss.
And this guy right here. Crucial.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, please, let's keep going.
Who would like to follow? Yeah. Anybody? Not it.
I'll go. Okay, so it's kind of funny because this whole time it's been spun on the wheel and it went by. I literally thought this was like an Alien the movie game. Like I didn't. I was like, why does Donnie really want to play some Alien movie?
He really likes Sigourney Weaver.
I thought it was nuts at the time, but and then I saw gameplay when we started this month, and I was like, oh, they showed this in a Nintendo Direct, and everyone in the YouTube comments made fun of it.
Sounds about right.
But then
disgusting.
I started it up, and you guys know me, I love sprite art, and I really like this game's art. And I was like, okay, it's cool. But my first impressions of the title screen, I was like, dude, what are we playing? Like,
yeah.
Which version did you play?
It's insane, dude. And I also got the impression, I was like, dude, I'm gonna complain about this game's story, and one of you guys are gonna be like, actually, it makes a lot of sense, dude. Like,
no, it literally, it is incomprehensible because it's so there's humans, and then there's a terrorist group, and then the terrorist group gets betrayed, and then the terrorist group wants revenge on the other terrorist group, but he's missing and gets thrown in the space-time continuum, and you're like, wait, am I rooting for the terrorist group? Like, what happened to the planet?
It introduces like 5 or 6 key figures.
Yeah,
like,
Scarlet, Epsilon, like 11 Tiger, like.
But with like Chat GPT style wording and phrasing and sentence structure, you're like, what?
And it just kept going. I was like, okay, all right, okay.
And then he turned into a boy, but was gonna kill a girl, and then he turned into a Birdman, and then killed the girl, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't just my experience.
Oh, it's nonsense. Absolutely.
Well, then did you play the English or Japanese version? Because the text is different in Japanese, and it's even more.
They're both nonsense.
Okay, yeah, because it's like straight up typos and stuff in the Japanese one, and it's a hell of a thing. It really set the tone.
The widescreen glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, RetroArch. I didn't realize it forced the wide core automatically, so it weirded out.
The other thought, which doesn't pertain to the game so much though, is I was like, right as I realized who you're playing as, Birdman in a metal suit, I went, no wonder Donnie picked this game, dude. Like, this is the Captain Falcon storyline game. You know?
That is some really good bait. Oh.
Yeah, dude.
And I ain't taking it.
But then I played it, and I actually couldn't put the controller down. Like, I'd get pissed at the fights, and a lot of the time I wouldn't even mix up my strategy. I would just try and get progress, and it's because the game feels really good. Even though there's limited buttons, and it is, there's some frustrations for sure, like switching weapons and like getting stuck, but it's so fast and it's so highly technical. It feels really good to pop off, and the risk reward and getting your health back from projectiles, parries, and using your flame dash feels so good when it starts clicking. So my opening impressions are this looked like the most like meme-worthy game, and so far like the biggest surprise. And really cool. I'm excited to talk about it.
Right on.
I can go next.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so my first impressions are sort of similar to Holden's in that it kind of sets a tone right at the start. And like I said, the translation of the opening crawl was just incomprehensible, and the opening notes of the music were, but like I had a smile on my face the moment this game started, just because that music, and then the opening credits or opening crawl, and like Danny said, seeing when you first see the weapon loadout selection and get to test the controls and stuff, and just feeling that movement and seeing the different control, like you have the different shooting modes, and then the dash, it's just instantly clicked, and it's just kind of my impression of the game only improved as I continued to play, and I think this game's incredible. That's my impression, my first impression, and this game rules.
Okay. I'll go next.
Oh,
okay. No.
Darth, go ahead.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. So, my first impressions, I thought it was like weird, like the story, but it was not the first time I played an old game where I was like 5 minutes in, I was like, what? Okay. But I was immediately like, as soon as it puts you in that screen where you get to like test all your shit, I was like, oh, this game actually has like a good amount of like thought put into like its beginning experience, which made me immediately be like, okay, so I think probably whoever made this game knows what they're doing. And I didn't read the manual, but I found that I picked up on all the mechanics like super fast, and just, you know, even in those first few levels, just as the levels went on, I just started to enjoy it more and more. And yeah, so I thought it was going to be good at the start, and it remained good, you know, through a lot of the game. I have some grapes, but, you know.
Grapes?
Some grapes.
Then
yeah, obviously like some of the other like stuff Holden mentioned, being like, what the fuck is this? You know? But you know, I was like, oh, this is Falco though. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mean Captain Falcon.
I mean Captain Falcon. I was like,
Vietnamese peasant soldier.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Did I say Captain Falcon?
Are you gonna pretend that wasn't on purpose as bait? You just let that be bait, because it was wonderful.
I'm just ashamed I'm still doing that all these years later.
No.
It makes it even funnier.
Is he one of those Pokemans?
He's from Mario.
Is that one of my Pokemans?
I just wanted to add something to my general impressions. I just want to say like how I was impressed mostly by how ahead of its time this game felt, and just super polished, and like people had said, like really designed around risk and reward, and I think that's.
I agree completely, Chris. That was big for me too.
Yeah, it's super challenging as well, but it's also completely fair, and that I love it.
I was like, oh, I don't get to bitch about the game being really like, just like poorly, like made from like the, I don't know, like the way that you like naturally interact with it. It just works. It works out, and they give you like a space to practice. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't get to bitch about. I get to bitch about this for once. I like it.
It is definitely an old man video game, 1995.
What year was Contra 3 again?
91, 91, 92.
Because
Crazy.
You had your notes with the year right there, didn't you?
Me?
we
Yeah.
flipped back 16
No.
pages.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because we've already discussed that they share DNA, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, but as well as in the dev team, and it's plain as day looking at the game and how it plays that it's similar. Although it's interesting how like fundamentally different the game is laid out. You know, Contra 3's got long levels and quick boss fights with challenge spread sporadically between. The levels, by and large, in this are very short and very.
Yeah, they almost exist to give you like a breather and maybe get some health.
You're just
It
there to
also
flex.
has a lot more fair tells. It feels less
Yeah.
arcadey with stuff immediately coming on
Oh.
screen.
Yeah, there's a very. But one thing I didn't even actually realize there was shared DNA there, but I was comparing them because I think the closest comparison of the games we've played is obviously Contra 3, and even I was also comparing it to Shinobi a bit. This one, I think, in its difficulty, it's so much more lenient, but at the same time, it's ultimately like I think it's more challenging overall, but it's also it's less based around pure memorization, whereas Contra sort of leans towards that. This is so much more flexible in it, like again that risk reward thing.
Because you can get hit more than twice.
Yeah, that was one thing I talked about with Contra is like I enjoyed Contra 3, but as a whole, it felt like once you solved it, like you knew it. Like whereas in this game, it's like you're fucking gaming. Like there's still like you figure out the strategy of the boss or like your strategy, but your strategy might be like use this weapon till it exhausts, and then like there's more flexibility and creativity, whereas in Contra it was like get the crush missiles and just own the boss up. Like
Also, with getting your health back, at least for me, most of the time I didn't feel completely boned when I started a fight off. Kind of bad, you know.
Yeah, it's really smart design, I think.
It's funny what you guys say about like the DNA of this game. Does anybody like I read up on some of the information of like how it was developed, and it's pretty interesting development process. I won't necessarily go over it now, but did anybody else like read about it at all?
right now,
I did.
Treasure's general thing is literally their whole like the CEO has stated we care about the gameplay experience above all else. Like they're like we don't care about like what somebody expects, like what they want from like current video games. Like we want it to feel good and play good, and like that's like their MO. Like that's their literal whole thing.
I will say this game was almost completely developed by one guy. Did you know that?
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it was almost completely developed by one guy. They brought in, because it was getting towards the end of the, whatever the Mega Drive's like lifeline and lifetime, whatever. And I think 6 months before it came out, they brought on the team to like help put the rest of it together. And in this state that it's in, the creator said it's about 50% finished in terms of content.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was, but yeah, made by pretty much one guy who worked on Contra 3 a lot. And yeah, no, and he holds the same sentiment about gameplay and stuff. But anyways, that's all I'll say about it now anyways.
That's crazy for the quantity of bosses and how different each boss is.
Totally.
For sure. Is this like the first instance of a boss rush? Like this game
No.
feels like it is a boss
No.
rush.
This game is a boss rush, but yeah, it's not the first instance.
Okay.
Colin, you didn't give your first impressions and overall impressions, did you?
No. I really liked it. A lot of what everybody's talked about kind of was the same for me. It's funny. I didn't play this game until because we were on like vacation away from home for a lot of the time, like the past like 10 days. and so I didn't have the ability to play Alien Soldier while we were there. So I had like 2 days to beat this. So when I played through this, I was using save states. But I think that, and I'm gonna get into this later because it allowed me to really explore the game in the boss fights in a bunch of different ways, and like play around with mechanics and like, oh, why does this work this way? But it was really interesting. Like one of the side effects of that was that like I did not know that you could turn enemy projectiles with like the parry, whatever, into health until stage 17.
Dang.
And, like the boss, and so there were certain parts where I was like, okay, I'm using save states for this, and you know, I'm being a bitch or whatever. But this is really fucking hard. And watching, like, once I figured out there that you could do that and how you could use it, like, oh, this makes much more sense. I get it now. I totally get it. And I liked it before, but I, you know, really liked it after that. So I had a fantastic time with this game overall. I had never played it before. It's really funny because even without using save states, I would say this game is anomalous for me in that at this point in my life, I don't really like playing games like this for my own like satisfaction or enjoyment. When I was younger, maybe as like a teenager, I would have like thought I would have enjoyed trying to get like a high score or like how many lives can I beat this with, that kind of thing. And these days it's like Super said, I do like RPGs, and like that's really what I enjoy doing with my gaming time. I like linear narrative experience, maybe not linear, but narrative oriented experiences, whereas this game has like a spaghetti narrative, and so like it's just not my thing anymore. But I had a fantastic time playing with because of everything we talked about, where it like just feels really good to play. It's very responsive, it's very tactical, you know. Nothing. I don't think anything after figuring out you can turn bullets into health is really unfair. I think it's actually very forgiving. I don't know how hard super hard is because I didn't play on that, and I wonder if maybe that's not quite the same. But like, I don't mean to say like if anybody struggled, it's like you're bad or anything. I just mean like it's overall you don't die like just immediately from things. Even if you fall in a hole in certain levels, like it's mostly just like a mash out. You know, you lose a little bit of health. Just get it back.
Oh yeah, that really surprised me.
Yeah, it's very, very friendly, very fun to play, beautiful to look at. The music is cool. The story actually not making any fucking sense was even better.
Kind of adds to the
really
effect.
Yeah, I was like, who am I fighting and why?
This is
you
the
know?
sequel to Illusion of Gaia, actually.
Yeah, dude.
The fabled fourth game, the quadrilogy.
I thought it was pretty funny you saying it was the game super forgiving, watching Danny getting bombarded by bullets from both sides.
Yeah, but
I was also mashing on the parry to get
I know,
all of
I
my
just thought it
health
was
back.
a funny image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's forgiving is when you restart here, you don't have to watch that again. That's crazy.
I thought you could just skip it. I skipped it the first time.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah, skippable cutscenes in 1995.
I love the way the bosses move in this. They look like marionettes.
Yeah, it's good.
Like
How
how
the
all
boss
their
design
different-
is so good.
Yeah, it's
like, just,
crazy.
Like the way
it,
their limbs move.
Look at that guy.
yeah, it leans into the boss rush, and it's like, you know what? Maybe we won't have the craziest stage designs. The stage designs are still really good and really cool, like better than they should be. But the bosses are just like, you never know what's gonna be next. You're like, oh fuck.
You really do not.
Yeah, you have zero idea.
Yeah. Here,
Oh,
I'll-
Danny,
I'll let
that's
you
the
know.
exact same strategy I used. This one here, right here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because the dash is so good. You're invincible for like a solid second or so, whatever, you know? Crazy.
I don't know of any other like 16-bit game that has like active parries and a iframes dash like this. You know, it's very ahead of its time, and like this is the sort of thing you would expect in a modern game, you know, but not 95.
You're just wave dashing here. That's what you're doing.
That's right, schmoovin'. All right, Super, would like to close us out on our initial take?
Yeah, I'll go last. I'm actually glad I'm going last because my opinion of this game is the complete opposite of everybody else. I did not like this game at all. I thought it played like shit, and I didn't have fun with it at all, so I didn't finish it. To me, it felt like they took everything that I enjoy about running guns and basically took them out of the game. Like, they added a time limit. They added clunky weapon switching, where you have to actually stop and switch your weapon.
Yeah, that's
They added
painful.
limited ammo, which is a joke in a game like this, where you're just constantly running and shooting. I don't know. I just felt like the way it controlled and the way it played. Like, I get what they're going for. Maybe it's just not for me, but I did not enjoy this game one bit at all. I thought there was a lot of bullet sponge stuff going on. A lot of the fight should have ended a lot sooner. I felt like the dash was leaned way too heavily on. Like, it's just like everything is just dash, dash, dash. I don't know. The music was not very good, in my opinion. Very forgettable. The art was fantastic. The art was great. But yeah, I feel like if the controller had more buttons, maybe it would have been a little better. But
Yeah, I actually had that thought too.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah,
getting
I'm like
mad at the
Sitting there
controller.
playing with a 6-button controller using 3 buttons. I grew to enjoy the controls, but yeah, that was one of my first thoughts.
like, switching weapons in a game like this, you should tap a button and just switch your weapon and keep running and shooting.
That
instead
was
of pulling
my
up a
biggest gripe.
wheel, and standing still, and getting hit. And like, I feel like they tried to make it like super technical for the sake of making it super technical. Like, to me, a game that's very technical and advanced that does a better job, in my opinion, is Higane.
I was gonna bring up
That game, like, it's like you just like never stop. Like, that game's like amazing. Like, it feels like you're just flowing. In this game, I feel like it's like you're running into brick walls over and over. And I'm not talking about the difficulty or getting killed or anything like that. I'm talking about just like switching stances just to shoot a different way. Like, you should be able to shoot any way you want without stopping. Like, I don't know. Everything about this game rubbed me the wrong way.
That's surprising.
That's my
That-
impression.
that's fair
It's good for our
criticism, though.
conversation to have a different
Yeah.
opinion, you know?
Yeah, but the art, great, fantastic art. The bosses, like, dude, someone very creative came up with all the bosses in this game. Like,
Yeah, like just how varied the designs are. Like, wait, what?
yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad game, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not for me.
I get what you're saying about the dash specifically. Like, if we rewind a second, go back to Danny's werewolf fight, like a solid minute of that was him. And I did the same thing, and Chris said he did the same thing because it's just the optimal strategy.
That's what you're
You-
supposed to do.
No,
Right,
so
exactly.
what you're
It's
supposed
like-
to do is hit his chest. So if you're good enough, you're supposed to wait for that wind up where he leans the claw back. Like, cause I played it a lot, and like, so it actually shows you like the weak point. Like, it'll show you, so you can shoot his feet and do like no damage. But even in that like little thing, like, I started hitting him in the chest with a laser, and it took off like 10% chunks.
Yeah, I want to say that I also hit certain brick walls on certain bosses, and then I felt like they were definitely bullet sponges. But then the key is obviously just finding the weak points, and then once you do, it really changes it. Because I was starting to get frustrated on Seven Force was the boss I hit. I don't know if the names are the same in
Yeah,
both versions, but
seven forces.
yeah, that was the fight where I was like, this is literally impossible. I don't know if I'm going to beat this game. But then it was just a matter of figuring out the weak point, which
Yeah.
sounds pretty obvious, but it's really the key.
I should have specified, sorry. I meant that generally the defensive play in this game is two-dimensional, no pun intended. If you
I
get
just feel like
cornered,
the
yes,
dash
you
was
can
hit.
dash.
It just was too relied upon. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it was like they added this mechanic, and then like the whole game is based around it, basically. Well, not
Yeah.
the whole game. But...
If you don't like a mechanic, then it's based around that mechanic. Then
Yeah, I
obviously-
did not like the dash. I mean, it looks cool, and like, you know, it's cool, but to me, it felt kind of gimmicky. I don't know. It felt like, here's this thing that's obviously like super good and super powerful. Now do it all the time. I don't know. I feel like they made this game very complicated and technical for the sake of being complicated and technical, rather than it being complicated and technical to complement other things about the game. Like, they're like, look at how super crazy and fast and hard this game is. Whoa, there's so much stuff.
I can understand that opinion. I would agree with it. Maybe if I didn't think the game felt as good as it does, because I think the complex nature, like, I don't think it gets in the way of how good the game feels, and I think it only adds to how good the game feels to play. Like, once you've it takes a while to really get used to it. I think I was definitely fumbling with the weapon select.
Yeah,
first.
I kind of said that earlier. I hated the controls until it started clicking.
Yeah.
But again, that's going to be obviously.
I
A
guess it
subjective
never clicked for
personal
me
feel.
then.
Yeah.
Because the weapon switching and running out of ammo was just like, all right, I've had enough of this.
Yeah,
So-
that's fair.
That
What weapons
was
did you use?
usually the reason I would mess up a fight. I would go to switch a weapon, and I'd be like, "Why am I turning?" And then, well, why am I taking hits? Fuck him, and then I'd reset. and
What
get
the
pissed.
fuck?
Also, the stance change, like, that felt like
I did-
it didn't need to be in the game. Like, it didn't need to be in the
I
game.
didn't like the stance change until you get to that one boss near the end. It's like stage 20 where you're running away the whole
I never-
fight or a
I didn't make
majority
it
of
before.
it.
From the
And
horse.
then I was like, that makes sense why it's in, because you're like literally backpedaling while shooting. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's a
then
couple
use
fights
it,
for it.
like,
I was
time and time
using
again.
it.
It makes sense at stage 20.
Yeah, stage 20.
No, it's good on the mantis or the ant
Well,
guy boss
it even
too.
starts good. Like if you start like in the because the first stage, like you're literally running forward and shooting. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to stop. So like if you're in the gold, like you just run forward, and then that puts an enemy above you. So it kind of like makes you think like, okay, I need to shoot up. So you can, I need to shoot up. I need to do drugs. I'm a Birdman. But like
No,
it kind of gives you the idea of like switching between the forms, and I agree, like switching weapons in, like you have to look for spots to switch weapons, which like sucks, like when you like I need to switch
It
weapons
definitely seems
now.
intentionally designed. That doesn't
But
feel
yeah,
good.
like they definitely, the limited ammo is like by design to get you to like mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part I actually didn't like. That's why I actually played on super easy mode, because it was annoying me. That and the timer, I didn't like that either. So what that actually caused me to do was I just had 2 of the same weapon, so I never ran out of ammo for whatever gun I was using. So I feel like in a way it actually caused me to not take, you know, like different weapons. If I played like on super hard, where like you don't get infinite retries, right? I think that's how it works.
Oh, you get infinite retries?
Yeah,
on
you get
easy?
infinite continues on
Yeah,
super
oh
easy.
my
I was gonna
God.
say I was really stubborn and playing on super hard, and then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna swallow my pride and play super easy. And not only do you get infinite continues, but you get to switch weapons every continue,
Yeah.
every retry, and you can slow the game down.
Yes, if you pause, you
What?
can choose 4
So-
different
Wait,
modes of
really?
slowdown.
It's actually like really good. Yeah, the manual says it's really good for practicing. And then I never went back and beat it on super hard, but I actually feel inclined to because it feels really good.
Yeah,
I think. Good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not beat it on. I was very stubborn. I played this game for about 3 weeks, and I was getting better every session and having a great time, but I was just starting to run out of time. So I switched to super easy, and it kind of opened my eyes that it feels like the game is almost designed for you to play it on super easy first to learn and
I
then
think
go
so.
through. Yeah, because like by the time you get to Seven Force in particular was the one I really hit a brick wall. I'm like, there's no way. And some of the later boss fights, I'm definitely like, I was struggling to get through even on easy. So I definitely appreciated the super easy for micro babies mode.
Damn,
And yeah, but
definitely a
I'm
micro
also
baby.
Also very much inclined to go back and beat it on normal because it's one of those games I will always want to come back to and try and beat. Like Contra 3, like I said, I was going to, even though I didn't.
I feel even more so with this than Contra 3 personally.
Yeah, I think this game
it
is-
captivated me so much, which I
Yeah.
was surprised about.
The game, like whenever it comes, I think to like the game's intended like play, I think that it's definitely meant to be played on the hardest mode. My understanding is, I was reading, it turns out that this guy's boss, the guy who made most of the game, his boss, like shortly before the game went out, he snuck in to the office and changed the damage parameters so it would be even easier. Because apparently they were like, dude, this game's too hard. And that guy
You
was
need
like,
to
"No,
settle
dude,
that shit down,
it has
bro.
to be hard.
The game's design really does scream being made by a dude who's really good at the game. Because going into the level 1 boss is like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Did anybody watch the attract mode, where the guy's just like playing the game? I don't know who if it's like pre-recorded or what, but the attract mode is like somebody flexing. It looks
He's
like-
just
I watched a
nuts.
little bit, yeah.
yeah,
Colin, we
it's
know
really
what
cool because
happens
it shows
over
off all the
there.
different things you can do.
Sounds cool.
Yeah,
I like the bear.
I will just say this game is really good at like making you think about how to play it. Like,
I hate this boss, by the way.
this boss is a total nightmare. But there's a really cheesy strat for him.
I found him pretty easy, actually.
You know
I was just jumping over every blade swing. How about what else do you do?
Now that I think about it, I feel like this game kind of has the same thing going on with it that Doom Eternal has that I don't like.
Oh, kind of forcing you into a playstyle.
Well, not necessarily that, just too much unnecessary things that I feel are unnecessary that they added, that they want you to do really badly. That like it could have just been simple. Like being complicated doesn't equal good, obviously. I don't know. I feel like for a game that's supposed to be really fast, where you're running around blasting things, flying around the screen, I feel like streamlining the process, in my opinion, is important. And I feel this game had a lot of things that kind of just felt like huge bumps in the road when you're trying to go fast, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I completely lost my train of thought there. I've lost it. It's not coming back.
Okay, we'll keep talking. Maybe I'll get it back.
Yeah, it'll come back. So, like, do you guys getting the thing right there? Like, did you realize how like the power-up capsules work for the weapons?
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Like, it's weird. This game has like that kind of shmup thing where, like, when you die, like when you use your continue, you lose like the kind of allocated or not allocated, like the power-up capsules you've collected throughout the game. And if you get like every power-up capsule you get for a weapon, it gets 2 more energy bars. And like while you're not using it, it comes back into stock. So when you're playing through and like you have your beefy weapons with a huge amount of stock, like it becomes more like inconsequential to be going through your ammo because you just have more of it. And by the time you need to switch to another weapon for like this phase, like I'm using the homing thing to shoot the lobsters, my laser gun's coming back. And every time I talk about this game, I sound insane. I need to do drugs. I'm a Birdman, the homing gun to shoot the lobsters, and I think that's why I like this game, because it's fucking absurd.
It's so good.
Is that a blue teddy bear rocking out?
Yeah, and look at his tragic fate. This is, you cannot avoid his fate here. I love how
you free it so it just hits full throttle and then gets taken away. And that's
I love how the animation, he like heaves his shoulder into it.
Help!
He goes,
Help! Help! I was telling
It was
Colin
like 4 voice lines recorded for this game too, and that's
when
one
he
of
sent
them.
me a picture of that bear. Like when you start that and the boat starts moving, it goes, "Let's go." I always like to imagine that's the
That was
bear
it.
saying that.
Yeah. This level reminded me of I guess it's just the boat on water. It reminded me of the Rat King boss fight
Oh yeah.
in TMNT 4, or the Sewer King, whatever the fuck his name is. That guy.
Yeah, Rat King.
So we were just talking about the weapon upgrades. I would always just upgrade the Buster. I didn't write down the names of the
Lancer?
weapons. No, the
the-
two arrows.
the
Buster
base one.
Force. Yeah.
Yeah,
Buster
that was like the
Force.
one I would always rely on just to upgrade because I knew I'd always have it. My weapons of choice were the Buster, the Lance Force, Sword, and Flame.
Flame.
The homing and spread
Flame
I
is
thought
OP
were
at
kind
the
of
start.
I usually did 2 Lancers, a sword, and Homan.
Lancers by the end are definitely the way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
No,
on
Lancers are
easy
like
because you
the-
can change your loadout. I was always picking like 4 Lancers for certain bosses.
Is Lancer the one that does like the most single direct damage?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Seems
green
like it.
laser that kind of goes across the screen in like a blast.
Yeah. I didn't realize how good that was till toward the end of the game.
So the tricky part is like it does a lot of damage, but there's enemies that will literally be unhittable by it. Like they need to have a squishy point to be able to take damage from it.
Yeah, I used the homing for the most of the game because it bypasses a lot of those defenses. So it made the bosses kind of take a while, but it made it so I could just like focus on staying safe and holding down the button, you know?
Was there a longer time limit on easy mode?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and you do more damage, and
Yeah.
you run out
Okay.
of ammo less quickly.
Because using the homing gun on bosses in hard mode, you just time out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mainly use like the homing gun to recharge my other weapons. Like Colin said, like be wary, like aware of my surroundings. So it gave me time to do damage and get my guns back.
I like how the homing weapon would literally show you where the damage spot was sometimes too.
So I think that actually just happens if you stand still. That's what the manual says.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like a 2-page manual, and I don't even remember that.
Like I said,
Swiss
I read
cheese
it.
memory.
Swiss cheese brain
Yeah.
getting everybody.
Yeah. This
I
fight, this
also-
first boss fight. Oh, sorry, Colin. I love when we both don't say anything for 2 seconds, then we just instantly talk over each other. Go ahead, Colin.
No, I was gonna say two things. Darth talked about using the flamethrower, having it be OP at the start. I also felt like it was really, really good, and then by the end of the game, I just never wanted to use it because I could never make it work.
Yeah,
That
it
it's
doesn't
too
work
dangerous.
against mechanical enemies. That's the thing.
Oh, well,
Did it
that's
say
why
that
there's
in
a
manual?
reason.
Yes.
Maybe I should with fucking manual. Playing this though, also like, I don't know. Maybe it's like the movement. It reminded me of wanting, or I guess it reminded me of playing Mega Man Zero and wanting to use Zero's sword. Like have a melee attack in this.
Yeah, that
I
would have been
wanted
tight.
it.
Dude, did you guys? I think I learned this early in this fight. I found myself spamming the parry, doing crazy damage
Yeah.
when I would have 0 HP or low HP.
I didn't know
And
that
then
it was
this-
a parry, and I thought it was just like a cool, like if you mash in their face, it does some damage.
But sometimes it does crazy damage.
Yeah.
I didn't totally know why, but it was cool. It kind of
So-
felt like a melee.
I didn't realize it was doing damage like that until the final boss, because that can
Yeah.
actually damage him on the
Yeah, the
fly.
final
only
boss
thing
is
I
based
saw that too.
around you parrying his projectile into him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can also just parry nothing and it's on his face and it does damage. Maybe that's only on easy. Are there any bosses that are different in hard? Because the final boss seemed like not. Shouldn't have been the final boss.
Yeah, so it's weird.
I felt that way too.
They are not different. Because I did one after Extra Life. The day after that, I just played this till I beat it. And because I've beaten this game before, so I knew kind of general deal like with the bosses. But I beat it that day after Extra Life, and then I was like, you know what? I want to see what's going on in Super Easy, like what's different in it. And that's when I learned about like the speed, the damage, like the weapon recharge, like all that. And also you can use passwords and have unlimited continues. So like it is very welcoming on Super Easy, but I feel like calling it Super Easy is maybe a little bit patronizing. Like
Yeah, because it literally made me not want to play it. For the
Yeah.
longest
Yeah,
time.
it's indicative of the game's general attitude, I think, where they're like, it's like, whoa, look what we did. Can you beat it?
Are you
You-
tough enough?
yeah, are you a bad enough dude to save
At the same
Epsilon?
time, I get that. I agree to some extent, but at the same time, I think it does a great job making it accessible. Because like this is obviously a game you're supposed to play over and over again and master it and get better score, better time, and I think it's very accessible. Like it is hard to do it on super hard. Not that I have, but I would like to, and I think it does a good job kind of introducing it to a player, like easing you into
support
it
him.
rather. Yeah.
Game needs shoulder buttons.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would make it a lot better.
I don't know, like if it had shoulder buttons, would it be like Super Metroid style where you're holding R to
No,
aim up?
you could switch weapons with the
Yeah,
shoulder
but
buttons.
you could
shoulder
do it with,
buttons
like,
to switch weapons would be
XYZ,
kinda nice.
right? But
One
Like-
thing that felt really Metroid-y was doing the perfect little tap jumps to get your shot height right, which I mean is other games too, but the addition of the hover.
Yeah,
you get a few
hovering when you
shots
got
in,
your
it felt
height right.
so good on
Yeah.
it
certain
does feel really
bosses.
good.
Yeah, when you hit the sweet spot.
Mhm. Like Seven
Yeah,
Force is that, especially that first phase on Seven Force. Like when you kind of get that rhythm and hit that perfect spot and start hitting the body, you're like, okay, I'm gaming.
Well, another thing I thought that was really cool about the game is how you had like a last chance mechanic when your HP drops. to
Yeah,
zero.
if you're not
I thought that was
critical
awesome.
HP, you can eat any hit. Like you won't instantly die.
Especially combined with the fact that you can just recover that HP. There's a lot of fights where I
That
got
does pay
through.
off that well.
Yeah, because of that, and I was really blown away with that being in a game this old. To be honest, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't played Bloodborne, but the whole dynamic of getting your health back in a fight, I've seen done really poorly, and it can feel really terribly designed. So to see it feel good in this is awesome.
I was also thinking of Bloodborne.
Yeah, it made me think of Bloodborne for sure.
Another thing about the game's pacing, now that I'm seeing this sword goober on the screen, you have the Antoid man who does backflips, right? Then you have this sword dude, and then you have the train boss who we're looking at earlier, who has the claw combos.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is if you look at like these 3 fights, you do like more and more dashes, and you have to avoid attacks more and more after each dash. So it's pretty cool that the dash and following up with an attack builds up throughout boss fights. That's like people still screw up that in modern games, you know.
And
Yeah, like gradually increasing the need to use.
Yeah, just
like, the
teaching
core
without
mechanics.
having to explain anything.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, because I think if I have like one minor complaint about this game, it's really that the boss difficulty is kind of all over the place.
yeah.
Well, that too, but I will say I do like that from a pacing standpoint as a player, because
Like,
if
gives
it
you
were a
breather.
linear ramp up, it at least the way it felt for me, like getting through a hard fight and then first trying like 2 or 3 bosses in a row felt good, weirdly.
I agree, actually, and I think just the fact that there's stages where you know your health carries over. I think the fact that you have like you're like, okay, I beat that boss now. I need to get my HP up and get ready for the next one, and like 2 bosses from here. You know what I mean?
It's normally something I don't like though, so I think it's for me it's a sign of good design that it felt good, you know.
It's
fair
just-
criticism though, because there are some bosses that are fucking jokes.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
some are jokes and some are like, why am I not damaging it with the laser right now?
yeah.
Yeah. I think they could have toned it back a little bit.
Yeah,
with the decent.
To me, I feel like Seven Force should have been the final boss.
Absolutely.
yeah.
The game keeps going, and then you're like, wait a minute, and then the final boss. I think
I was honest.
You
Sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Chris. No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say I was honestly scared that Seven Force was gonna be 7 phases and not 5. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. It was breaking me.
I
Which
was
one was
kind of
the
feeling the
hardest
same
one?
thing.
Valkyrie Force.
I think the water one.
No,
Yeah.
the water one's the worst, hands down.
It made
Because
me
it's like
really-
you have to fight the current, dodge the swinging arms, and the mines are
Yeah.
literally ever present. But the mines
don't
can give you
really-
health.
It was cool, but it also was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I found that battle in the water, and when you're fighting that like red snake in space, those were 2 boss fights I honestly didn't really like. I felt like they didn't work super well. Like, those ones where you're kind of like floating around and the screen is like,
You're in a washing
moving
machine
against your
and your
will, yeah.
laser can hit their arm instead. That's not good.
and then like Super said, like, there's like a timer to it, and you have to like switch your weapons around. And it's just like, oh my god, it's like, it's too much.
Yeah. 2 of my no continue runs lost to the fucking snake. Getting timed out by the space snake.
That fight especially, it was stupid. Like, they just fucked that one up. I think.
So I feel like the way that could have been better is like, I feel like what they wanted was you to hit it with the Phoenix Dash, but it sometimes will refuse to do the phase where you can get health back. And it's just like, well, you better... So what I found out, the best thing to do damage is after its phase where it shoots the red coconuts at you, like it'll spin in a linear circle, like it'll follow a pattern, and you can always hit it with the laser direct in each loop, so you can do huge damage.
I missed which fight you were talking about, but missing
The red snake in space, it's like a spiky snake.
Yeah,
Okay.
Before the horse boss, the mecha horse boss.
Super sick.
Yeah, that's
What's his name again?
It's like Mecha
Wolfgang
Garo
Blood.
Wolfgang Blood. Yeah.
This
he's
is
my
super
favorite
off topic, but when the horse did the crouching run animation, did it remind you guys of that one internet artist who does weird morphing things that looks... No, okay.
No, but I did think it was fucking crazy though.
And he slides
Feel
underneath
uneasy,
the
bro.
things too.
It's like, this thing is not a horse. What the hell?
Yeah, Wolfgang Blood Goropa. That's it. Wolfgang Blood.
Some amazing boss names in this game.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
also like ridiculously easy for whatever stage he was.
So that harkens back, like talking about the dash. Like the dash made it so you actually had full use of the stage. Like you had a boss arena, because otherwise it would have literally been you probably using the gold mode, walking back and forth, just strafe shooting the boss. But with the dash, it actually let you kind of position.
That's one thing about that dash, is that it allows for you to have boss sprites that can sweep the screen, and you can just go through them instead of like, how else are you gonna jump over something that takes up the screen, you know?
I know it's super saying though, because like, you know, in Contra, you know, an enemy will shoot like 3 bullets and you're like, okay, I gotta do like a quick like little jump and then like a big jump to get over the third one, and that kind of like dodging, that's I think typical in shmups, is not really present in this game. It's just like, I'll just dash through it.
Or block it, yeah.
Or block
Having to do a jump, hit the hover, and then double jump, never felt good to dodge something for the most part.
In addition to that too, honestly the hardest part of the Contra boss fights was not getting hit by the fucking boss's body itself, and the fact that you can side switch almost every boss at will whenever you want, for free, completely free of danger in this game. It can trivialize a lot of the encounters, and I'm not saying
until you dash straight into a landmine, but yeah.
But it also feels badass to me, honestly. Like all that said, like it feels fucking awesome.
But I totally get where Super's coming from.
Make the mines easier to see, dude. All right.
I was getting blown up by those things
little
and I
pellets.
Yeah. I was like, is that a health pickup? What is that?
No. I will say one thing that I really appreciate about this game is that it's just like pure gameplay. Like even when you beat a boss, it's like, good job, no, keep going. It's like you kill the boss and it's just like, all right, well, keep going, keep shooting shit.
Yeah, emergency.
I thought that was fucking awesome.
It is, yeah.
And to me, I don't know, like more games need to focus more on that type of thing rather than like, here's a quick time event, now here's a 20-minute cutscene, buy DLC. Like, fuck you. But yeah, this I really like
microtransactions.
Yeah, this to me, like I said earlier, it's just not. It didn't click with me. This game just didn't vibe.
Yeah,
that's all. Like
it's totally fair.
I get it. I get what they're going for. I get how like you guys. I'm glad you all enjoyed it as much as you did, and I understand why. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very unique game. Like I can't really think of another game. I mean, obviously, like we compare it to Contra, but like there's so many things in this game that set it apart from Contra.
Yeah.
Like even in Contra, like you beat a boss and it's like, okay, you killed the boss, now watch it explode for 10 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
And then here's like a little weird, like little intermission screen. Like that's fine, but like I don't know. I felt like this game, like they were like, fuck, there's no nonsense. Like you get in there and
you hold that controller and you don't let it down, so you get a game over until you beat it. Like oh.
You get in there and you just fuck them up like that.
Honestly, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think of positive things to say because, I mean, obviously you guys like enjoyed it so much, and I expected to like, Colin. Let me just pre-apologize. I expected Colin to hate it.
So if I hadn't used save states, I might have.
Like with Dracula X, and we were talking about Dracula X, and there's like that game, like it's hard in a completely different way, but like I don't know the way. When I was hearing you talk about Dracula X, I don't know if you remember during that episode I mentioned that like I 100% predicted how you were gonna feel about it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite.
I also thought like that you would not like this game, but like wow, I'm surprised that like everyone liked it as much as they did. But,
yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, like at this point in my life, definitely not for me. But there was a point in my life where like I felt like I was good at these and wanted to be good at these and really got like into the challenge of them. And I think why I'm able to like this compared to Dracula or Castlevania Dracula X, there's many reasons, but this feels like fundamentally much more friendly as an experience. It's not there to just kick me in the nuts at all times. You know, and like
it also feels like this game had at least like 1 billion times more thought put into it than Dracula X.
Yeah. Especially if it was only one guy making it, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's why everything feels, not everything, but it generally feels like a cohesive experience.
Yeah.
Everything I think is
Which
super
is crazy,
thoughtfully
by
designed.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I like it for the same reason, Colin. Like I feel like I'm always bitching about how I'm like I don't like doing the same thing over and over again, and how like the game gives you infinite continues if you play on the mode that I preferred. It lets you like work around some of the things you didn't like
Right.
about it, and it gave you like, in my opinion, a really good like starting point. It immediately like got rid of most of the complaints I have about everything we played so far, which is great. Made me enjoy it much more. And I think that back to what you guys were saying about how like it's like go go go. I think it's probably because the guy who made the game is like a shmup savant, and he
Right.
probably like I imagine he probably was doing like speed runs and stuff back then. And he probably got annoyed whenever you had to like, you beat a level for the 100th time, and now you had to wait and sit there for 50 and 20 seconds.
Yeah,
That's
there's
probably
straight up speedrun tech in this
Yeah,
game. Like,
that's probably the
crazy
reason.
tech.
Probably the reason why he made it so you could skip cutscenes. Like, I think he kept in mind that people were going to play this game, how hardcore shmup players played it, and he built it around that, which made it really good.
It feels
and I
like
bet
an arcade game.
Definitely.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
It is
like
very
console.
arcadey.
So
Yeah,
it's arcade-like in the sense that it's super, it's very sophisticated and like complex design, I think, and just kind of the very quick pace of it. But it's not arcade-like in the sense that it's super forgiving, and it's really
Yeah,
well
right, I agree.
balanced. It's not so forgiving where it's like it's not a pushover. It's just, I think it's super. The difficulty is really well balanced, is what I'm trying to say. It's
You have
excellent, I
a
think.
lot of opportunities. It's like in that clip you posted earlier of Aki versus Guile Super. There was like 2 neutral interactions that happened. 1 really, but possibly 2, and the round was over. In this, there's like a total opposite of that. It's not to say that the interactions aren't tough and don't have to judge your spacing and stuff and what weapon you want to use, but there's many of them. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, one of the things talking about like predicting each other's reactions to this game, I was kind of thinking maybe it would just be like Donnie and me who liked it. 'Cause,
I was kind of feeling that the same way, Holden. I was like, I know
yeah,
Holden is a
Super,
degenerate video game button pusher like myself.
your criticism over time limit and ammo, that's something I'm really interested in the design space, but I'm really wary of ever like utilizing it, because I know in a general sense, like especially a modern audience, but people in general do not like timers in games, and it's very a fair reason. Like, you don't want to feel expedited or rushed.
For the most part, timers are kind of archaic nowadays, because timers existed back in the day to get players off of the arcade cabinet. So someone else could put another quarter in, and the arcade operator can make more money. That's why timers existed. Same with like points. Games had points for so long, and eventually developers were like, wait a minute.
What are these things even doing?
Why is this here?
Yeah, like I just feel like it's a remnant of the arcade. Timers, I do feel like there can definitely be uses for timers that don't feel like you're just being rushed for no reason. And you were talking about limited ammo. I feel like in a game like this, limited ammo is something that shouldn't be implemented. Like, to me, when you have...
That's what I'm getting at. That it's like, I don't think this is like the rules people should follow by modern days, not even modern day standards, but I don't think these are the rules people should follow. So I'm surprised that 5 out of 6 of us like this experience so much,
That's because it had super easy mode. Otherwise, I would have hated it.
that's true too.
Yeah, you got rid of the
say the
ammo.
same.
Got rid of the timer.
So, like, for
And
me,
it really made those values way more lenient, because they are still there,
when you have resources that you are managing in a game, the gameplay environment that I like when I'm managing things is something where I can take my time and think and plan. You can't do that in this game. I mean, you can, like when you die and start over.
You can
Well,
strategize, but you can't plan in the moment.
I'm talking about like in real time, for example, like old Resident Evil. It's all about managing resources. It's all about like, okay, I know there's a zombie in this hallway and there's a hunter in this hallway. I'll take this route, or I'll use this many shotgun shells on the hunter, and then I'll have this many left. Blah blah blah. You know, that's the type of resource management I enjoy. Not like, okay, there's 20 potato eye dudes around you spitting, and there's landmines, and there's fish flying and lobsters having sex. Like, no, like, and then you got to pull up the weapon wheel that pauses your whole movement. Like, no, I just feel like having that many things to manage at once is something that should be in a game that is a little more methodical.
Yeah, I feel that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, to me, like, games like this that are fast and just, like, lots of shit going on the screen at once, I like a more streamlined experience.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about this type of game. That's why I hated Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal's fast as fuck, and there's like 80 different fucking mechanics going on all at once. It's
fighting itself.
Yes, like the original Doom, you just go around and shoot things. But there's like, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like original Doom, there's definitely depth to the gameplay. Like you do have to plan. Like when you get into an encounter, you prioritize which enemies to kill first and which weapons to use. Blah blah blah. But you know, I mean, I just don't like fast games that have a shit ton of mechanics that you have to manage in real time. I guess that's just my personal opinion about this type of game.
But that's cool though. I like highlighting the reasons why we all click and don't on certain games.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think I'm pretty sure you can't actually run out of ammo, right? Because ammo regenerates. Like if you run out of ammo, you essentially, because it regenerates over time. So I think if you switch guns, you'll have at least like 1 or 2 ticks of energy per gun.
So it's funny. So my one, like, because obviously I'm just gonna sound like a horrible fanboy. I did find a very crucial, terrible flaw that happened to me in I think I was playing when I was doing it on super easy. Like I got a game over because it was the boss after like one of my favorite moments in the game where you beat the Mothra boss. I think his name is like, it's Bug Max, because I laughed. I was like, Gulag says when's Bug Snacks, but here's Bug Max. And then after that, it puts you in a dark hallway, like with the lines, and like you don't see anything, and the music is just kind of like bumping, and you're like, what? And your first instinct is like, is there something in front of me? And you shoot the gun, and it lights up when you shoot the gun, and you're like, oh shit. But right after that boss, I accidentally made the mistake of running into the weapon power-up with my Buster Force, and it swapped my Buster Force for a Lancer. And that boss right after that, I think it's called like Sunset Flower or something, like the weird bouncy flower, you cannot actually hurt him with Lancer. And all I had was homing, and I got timed out by it. And I think that is
I've ran into a couple things like that. It's
big
pretty
old mess.
Yeah, picking up a weapon when you don't want to.
I kind of wish it would just like pause the game and let you pick which one you wanted, to be honest. But
when you have so many variables going on at once, I think things like that are more likely to occur.
Well,
because there's just so many different outcomes that are possible in any given situation. Because there's just so much shit going on. Like your current like abilities could be so radically different at any given point.
Yeah, like a little bit of it was like, I guess not a skill issue, but it was a me problem, because it's like, well, that's like
sometimes they're just straight up.
I paid the consequences of the loadout that I had, but it shouldn't have made the game impossible. But it's funny about the weapon switching. There was one point, and it's 7 Force, that I found the weapon switching to be a pain in the ass, because you should be able to swap the weapons in between like boss transition phases. Like it should not lock you. Like you should be able to switch your.
Yeah, I would usually hold the weapon fire down to know when I could do input, you know.
Yeah, and so that was really obnoxious, especially in 7 Force, where it's like, okay, I want to start this phase on a gun that is not out of ammo or this particular gun, and it waited till the boss starts coming at you to be able to switch your weapon. That's where the weapon switching was a fuck up. But aside from that, like in the fights, I never ran into a problem. Like I would find the moment to switch my weapon. Like I don't think I ever was like, well, I'm gonna have to get owned in order to switch my weapon here. It was like I need to look for the moment where I can switch my weapon.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That seemed intentionally designed. I just don't think it felt that great.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's like it felt good, but it was absolutely workable, aroundable.
You think if the Genesis controller had more buttons, that the weapon switching would have been the same? I know this is pure speculation.
Yeah, it's speculation.
I think it would have been different.
Yeah. It should have been on the shoulder. Like if it had shoulder buttons, like to like Mega Man, like go through your weapons.
Well, they could have made it for more buttons with the 6-button controller. They just didn't to make it sell to more people, which I think is fine because I think it works with 3. But a 6-button mode would have been nice. Just to go back to what you were saying about finding a spot to change your weapons. I hate to compare everything to Dark Souls, but it's very much like finding a spot to heal in Dark Souls, right? It's just, it feels very intentional.
Yeah, but in Dark Souls, there's not boner lobsters flying at you constantly.
Yeah,
and I'm obviously not being fair. I'm just talking shit.
No, you're fine.
And not to like shit on the comparison, Chris, because I think there is merit to it, but there's also like it's not totally fair as well because like you don't have to heal to do damage in Dark Souls. Like you can no-hit things and not need to heal in that, but in this game, like you could, as Danny said, you can get locked perhaps in a boss fight with no option to do any damage, or like you then have to navigate around this mechanic that is unfriendly and cumbersome from a mechanics perspective, like an ergonomics perspective, for no reason.
All right, would you stop shitting on me, Colin?
Yeah, leave Chris alone. Right?
That was it. I'm just like, of the things I didn't like about this game, and there's a few, but they all largely center around the weapons and switching and how bosses react to certain weapons and balance problems related to that. And I think it's cool that like you can like have your own counterplay for like, oh, how do I switch in this boss? And there's like emerging gameplay strategies with that, and that's all cool and stuff, but it doesn't mean it's good.
I think something like that is totally subjective though. Like, I don't know, like you mentioned, like the switching weapons, finding a spot to switch could add depth. It adds it's another layer of strategy to the boss. But like I think it's like you just like that or you don't. And
yeah, I would prefer the strategy elsewhere than how to manage my fucking inventory while the boss gets to continue trying to clown on me.
That'd be like in Resident Evil if you open your inventory and the enemies are still coming at you.
Oh god, that would give me anxiety.
There was a game like that. Oh, I wish I remembered.
So one thing that I think could have improved the weapon switching was if you held the button down, the wheel pops up, and then you move the wheel with the D-pad and then let go of the button, and it picks the weapon instead of pressing the wheel and then moving around and then pressing the button again. I think little things like that just could have added to a more streamlined experience in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of times where like I open the weapon wheel and like I'm like freaking out because there's enemies coming at me, and I press the wrong button and I don't pick the weapon. I'm just like ow, 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 I'm dead.
Yeah. Then you kind of get locked in the loop of like, no, I gotta switch the weapon, man. Like fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, the weapon wheel was actually
need to be a wheel. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's probably similar to what you were saying. It's I was finding the weapon wheel I could not figure it out. Like it was throwing me off so bad when I was focusing on looking at the wheel itself and not looking in the top right corner.
Yeah, the top right corner. You just hit right to go to the next one.
Yeah.
Why don't they just have it be above your head the way it is up there? You know?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the wheel too, Chris, and being like, what? And that's why I was laughing, because like I remember when Super was playing Secret of Mana. At least at the start, I don't know if you ever got used to it, but you were dunking on the wheel.
Well, it was the menu this way.
I got used
menu.
to it. It
Yeah.
still sucks.
Yeah. And then when I made Danny play Secret of Evermore, which I still regret, he also hated that shit, and it's just so funny, you know. Like
Get wheels out of video games.
If you've ever played Metroid Prime 2, that game's menu is a 3D version of it.
Awful.
That's why everybody hates Echoes.
I wish I had more to say about this game, but
no, it's like you said, like this is absolutely like with its whole thing being gameplay focused, like centric. Like if that's not your thing, then like the game's not gonna be your thing. Like it's completely understandable.
And yeah, the game is built so much around the dash and like the parry. It's the dash and the parry that kind of really make this game. So if you don't like either of those mechanics, then
Do you guys have any thoughts on ceiling walking?
I think
cool.
those sections like
Underutilized.
Yeah, underutilized. Like just that one or two like water stages. Like when if you really hit it, because there's a moment like where Epsilon, Mr. Birdman, Captain Falcon, like he will actually magnetize to platforms. So you can kind of walk off to the next one and hit the down jump to flip to the next one. And if you're moving and shooting and flipping, like you're you're doing it. And it just looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It feels cool to like be jumping like from the bottom to the top, and like it kind of like I felt like maybe it must have been good level design, because I found myself doing it almost like quite naturally.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I mean? Like you just feel it and you just kind of like glide through the stage.
So I think that was just also on part of good level design. I think it would have been, maybe the reason it wasn't in bosses more is probably it might have been too much, you know. Like I found out, like if I may, just like a lot of the boss arenas were pretty much like Final Destination, you know.
Yeah.
All of them. And maybe it could have been cool to have a little bit more of a mix-up with the arenas, but then again, I don't necessarily think like
I thought it was pretty lame when there'd be a random like trash can that would block you. Did I really just die
getting
for that?
fucked up by the crab when you're caught on the chair? No.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been cool to have a bit more.
I know, I completely agree. I found the arenas where there were more than just, it was more than one level, were more interesting, more memorable.
I think that like this game is focused almost entirely on combat. So like the environment, it's like you play a game like Shinobi, like there's all kinds of different platforms to navigate, and this game is just like walk forward and blast shit. So like earlier it was being compared to a shmup. That's what shmups are basically. Like you're just flying in a straight line. Like yeah, there's little hazards here and there, but like I feel for like the most part, like the Final Destination like design of the boss arenas was put there just to so the focus could be mainly on, you know, the combat against the boss rather than trying to navigate the environment.
One of the standout like boss arenas that is kind of Final Destination but with a twist. I fucking love how you're on that fucking weird bug plane upside down, shooting it desperately, trying to kill it, and it transitions to the boss fight with the spider. Yeah, and it is the platform, and the little baby spiders try to drag you down, and if they do, it puts you in a really fucking bad way.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like I feel like that was like probably one of the coolest sequences.
Yeah, like the introduction, like the the whole like aspect of like this is your platform, you have to save it.
But yeah, but then again, there were certain bosses like with like less, you know, with like more interesting, I guess, arenas that I found really annoying. Like the one with like the fan that keeps moving, you know, and you have to like jump across the pillars.
Oh yeah,
like, I found that
you have to climb
really
across like the scaffoldings.
Yeah, I think the reason that it didn't work is because the dash was cancelable, but whatever. It worked out because most of the stages are just flat. But I think that could have been cooler. But it also, like Super says, it could have been too much if done in the wrong way. So maybe it's fine the way it is.
Well, I mean,
which boss are you talking about? Which fan boss?
It like it's like in the watery levels. You know?
it's the second water
Big
stage
purple fan.
boss. Like
After the shark, I think.
yeah, after the shark and before the lobster.
Yeah.
It's so funny out of context. I'm like,
It's like the Dr. Robotnik enemy looking
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
with the little alien guy. Like you're standing on the little water towers, and then there's like the silver scaffoldings in between the water towers.
Yeah, that boss fight fucking good. I died a lot of times.
Yeah, the Lancer Force just totally destroys him.
But if you're at the very back, it doesn't reach him, I don't think.
It does. It goes full screen.
Does it?
Yep.
But doesn't
Surprised I struggled with it then.
is Lancer the
Yeah.
is
Big
that like
beam.
the big beam or little beam?
The big beam that like goes skinny, like the one that isn't just an active beam. Like it actually shoots that one, the one I'm using right now.
Yeah, because there's like a smaller beam, and that one like does proximity damage, kind of like if you shoot it
Sword
from farther
force or
away.
whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah, sword
that's what it's called. It does less damage the further you are away, I think.
Yes.
Anyway.
That's how it works.
But another example of the stage being a little bit more involved, but I thought it was really annoying, is the I think it's right before the final boss, the stage with the missile launchers from the bottom. Like if you don't know that you control the platform that you're
I did
standing
not.
on, yeah, it's a fucking hot mess. And
was
it's just
me.
like, yeah, like you find out the hard way. Like it is literally gonna eat one of your continues.
It ate several of mine before I realized.
I didn't mind that, but man, the jet skiing squirrel thing that you gotta save, that's saying help, man. I hated that you controlled the left and right on that boat.
Like based on if you turn around.
I just steered the boat to the left and just dodged into the wall when the enemy tried to attack.
You can.
How do you steer the boat?
I'm annoyed and sad that that's a strat that works.
Ran
When you're
into the
standing on
wall,
it, it
yeah.
moves left and right.
I didn't realize.
did.
I thought you were joking, Holden. Are you?
No,
is this
you
really a
steer the
thing?
boat.
Chris and I were both dumbasses.
Hey.
So that explains
No.
probably why I never understood that fight and why I was constantly getting hit.
Damn,
That's good to know. That's good info. I just want to say I think every boss in this game is, for the most part, extremely well designed. Like very interesting. It's just like the variety is nuts.
Yeah, well
From start to
executed
finish.
for how interesting they are, for sure.
Yeah, and you always
Very
have something
lifelike.
new to do for pretty much. And
Okay, but try
Well,
them without the parrot mechanic. Yeah, see how that goes.
I find the lifelike comment kind of funny because I don't know what it is about the hardware difference, but SNES couldn't rotate that many sprites, right?
I wouldn't know, but
Don't
all
talk
I
shit
know
on
is-
Isn't Genesis
Nintendo in this
stronger?
house.
Like more biddies.
Yeah.
The Genesis was technically more powerful, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess the point I'm getting across is you never saw bosses where you have every appendage a separate
Right,
rotating
right.
sprite. And it looks
Yeah.
a little goofy, but
It is very goofy.
the
That's
tells,
a very Genesis thing, yeah.
yeah, but the telegraphs from it are so good, you know.
Have you ever seen the game on Genesis called Ernest Evans? I'm not making this up. It's a really
Ernest
pretty sure
Evans
you're
goes
making
to
it
jail.
Yeah. But the character you play as in that game has it's
Oh wow, yeah. I'm looking at it.
yeah. It's that you play as a goofy appendage articulation guy.
It's like Balls
Yeah, that's-
3D.
Yeah, something about the Genesis hardware, like that was like a very common thing in Genesis games.
Since we're talking about Genesis-ass stuff, can we talk about that boss after Destroyer Mark II? Like the one before 7 Force? Every time I see that boss, I say, look at this fucking Genesis motherfucker. Like,
which one is it?
it's called like something like Jamzo. Like it's after the Destroyer Mark II, and there's the platforming section where you're just literally in like a blue sky area, and you just jump over platforms, and you
Is
go
it
into
the thing
like,
with the teeth?
yeah, the teeth and the red nose.
Oh yes, that
What
thing
was
is.
that?
That
What's
thing
the
is
red-
fucking
the red thing?
Genesis the boss. I hate it.
Yeah, I
It
It reminds me
omitted
of a
that.
Sonic boss actually. A lot. Like,
I literally wiped that from my memory. Till you
Yeah, every
explained
time I
it.
get to that boss, I'm like, why is this boss in this game? It's making me upset. And then
I
7
really-
Force is the next boss, and I'm like, wait, no, this boss is making me upset.
I just want to say, since it's on screen right now, I love the way this boss animates and his death animation where he like kicks his legs up and down. It's
Yeah.
really good.
He has Captain Falcon's. Excuse me. He has Falco's knee.
But when I got to this boss, I was like, all right, I like this game.
He just comes at you with the flying knee.
And then, did anyone ever figure out how, like, sometimes when you're shooting the enemy, with the force, you would, like, lose less of it? Does anyone know? Is it like when you hit the weak
I thought
point,
it was
you
just
lose less?
the. Are you talking about the percentage that pops up?
Yeah, I don't get
I thought
that.
that was the like efficiency on them. But I have no idea.
Oh,
So-
like the efficiency of the damage?
You
Yeah.
use more ammo in the gold mode. You spend more ammo.
So then what does that percentage mean? Does that just
Oh.
mean damage percentage? Like, what is that?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I
I,
don't know,
th-
I
I
just- I
think
never
that's what it
understood
was, Darv.
Yeah,
I
damage
know just different
efficiency.
damage amounts, but that might be.
Oh,
That might-
something we
that
kind of glossed over. Did you guys even change the status display? There's literally 24
Oh,
of
yeah,
them.
that was
really cool.
That was super. That was another thing I was like, okay, this game has my preferences in mind. And that's
You
awesome.
like numbers?
Well, I like being able to adjust stuff. Like I think it's like proof of like a good game experience when you can just like turn shit off that you don't like and turn stuff on that you do. Like that's something I like about like Project Zomboid is if you're like I want this, then you can have it be that way. And I think that just makes the game better, to be honest.
Finally, a game for me.
Yes,
I'm
that
the
the thing?
I'm the opposite. I hate options. Don't give me the options.
What? That
Danny-
is what?
Danny, did you ever figure out this guy? That you're supposed
Yeah,
to just
you dash
okay.
through.
Yeah,
the-
okay,
the
yeah.
Homer.
Because it was driving me insane at start. I was like, why is this thing sucks so bad? And I was like, oh, and this is where I figured out the dash damage thing. Honestly,
That's
is on
crazy
this guy
damage.
right here.
Yeah, one thing
then-
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then that kind of opened the whole game up to me because I realized that is the game.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
One moment where like I really got like soured on this game was I was fighting the first boss, right? And it was killing me, and then I dashed him and like killed him in one hit, and I was like, oh, this dash is like
That's the only way I was able to beat this boss, actually.
this
I-
dash is pretty important, huh?
I would just reset if I got hit in the first part of that level, and then after I beat that boss, I was like, okay, we're on it
Now the
again.
run starts.
We did it.
Now back to the UI super quick. It probably wasn't important to you guys, but I thought it was pretty cool that it would show the actual damage amount you took, the number in addition to the showing the bar. 'cause
Yeah,
I
it let you
prefer the
know
number.
like what shit is really important to dodge.
sometimes you don't get to see your health go down. So to see like, oh, that did 300 health in one hit, like, that's important information to know.
I agree.
you
I
instantly
played
know
totally
it.
with the numbers. I found the bars to be like, I didn't really know exactly what was going on.
But even if you play with this bar, you can see the health plus.
Yeah, like it
and
shows minus
subtraction,
24
which is
when you
really
walk into
that
cool.
enemy. Yeah.
Okay,
Although
cool.
I personally found seeing the numbers when like using the bars but getting hit and seeing a number to be totally arbitrary, and it was almost in an amusing way. I was like, why the fuck do I need to know that
Oh,
that did
that's funny.
24 or 24 out
see
of
that
what?
too.
Says the
700
WoW
yellow
player.
potatoes.
But that's important all of a sudden. You take a minus 156. Donnie's not gonna hit one of those mines ever again. You know.
Until I hit this one right here.
Chris, that comment about WoW only applies if you don't use add-ons like some kind of Neanderthal like you.
Yeah. The reason I thought it was important was because, like, let's say you took like 150 damage and then you picked up a health thing and you got like 30 HP back. I'd be like, okay, so do I think I can get enough HP to like get another
make
one
it
of my
worth
super
trying to
dashes
do that.
back?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or should I just start, focusing more on damage? There's like 2 or 3 fights where I found the dash to be really useful, and having the info helped get it back or determine if I should.
Honestly, wouldn't have known that those like little orange capsules that you see very rarely on super hard and a lot more on super easy are actually health ups. Like they refill your health but also increase your max health.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
they just filled it.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
I also didn't know that.
I did
Holden,
notice my HP was higher at the end though. I was like,
I wrote down something in my notes. I'm like, it was like a Holden detail. It was the way you're if you fire against the wind on the train, that it like it limits your range. I thought that was a detail Holden might like.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
if you fire homing and
didn't even
flame
know those.
underwater, they also don't work.
Yeah, I noticed that though. Yeah, for sure.
That's
Oh,
why
it's
I'm
Like the
like,
game's.
I think homing worked because I used homing against the underwater boss. I think homing worked. Fire definitely did. Unless
So
those
the
two-
No,
wind
homing
makes
doesn't
your
work.
bullets
It definitely worked for me.
So if you
100%
fire into the wind, then you have decreased range. If you fire with the wind, then you
It goes further.
You
increased.
mean on the washing machine, Lost Star?
Yeah.
The washing machine. He is a washing machine.
I swear to
I'm
God,
pissed at
maybe
my
I'm.
game now.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of the flying one.
Yeah, I think you're tripping with your shoes on.
I don't know though. I feel like I did.
Alright, I'm booting it up right now.
But there's no chance I played like some fucking off version of the game. Like you guys are probably right. I just don't.
I did like how the wind when you're jetpacking would move you, and I liked how on the auto scrollers you would keep going when you're jetpacking.
Yeah,
I
I
found
found
that
was a nice
the
feature.
silver mode, like as soon as you're like in a open area, the silver mode only got me hit. Like I had to be in the gold so I could just straight up shmup it.
I never used it. Not once.
What?
I didn't really like the gold mode either.
Also, like if you're in the gold mode, you can backdash.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, this,
Okay, nerd.
we don't have to dice it up too much because again, I agree with where Super's coming from. It's just cumbersome
There's
changing
another
modes,
mechanic.
naming.
Backdash, check.
But I loved how this game had a real sense of like dueling, especially when you're in that gold mode, like facing them, backdashing, like Donnie's saying. Like that's not. It feels like a Zelda 2 fight sometimes, except on crack because you're a bird in a metal suit
And you need to do
dashing through 'em,
drugs.
you know? Yeah.
You know, it makes sense why this isn't my type of game. Look at the kind of shit I play. I play fucking Pac-Man.
All right, Grandpa. Let's get you back to the nursing home.
Yeah, Pac-Man
Let's get your
at home.
arcade kev set up.
Pac-Man. Oh my god.
But no,
Pac-Man's harder than this.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It takes all types for video games. Like there's never gonna be a universal video game, and
Have we had a game where all 6 of us liked it?
Yeah, Croc.
yeah, tens across the board.
Yeah.
I
Clock
think we all
Tower.
like Shinobi.
I'd rather play
It-
Croc than this.
yeah,
I'd
Shinobi.
rather play Clock Tower than this too.
I'd
Oh,
rather
God.
play this than the last level. But that's
Don't get me started
Yeah.
on Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Don't
I
bring
never
me
got the
back.
last levels of Croc, so my opinion of it
You
is
weren't
useless.
missing anything.
I guess not.
I mean,
Been
Croc's
zero-
title screen though.
It's been 0 podcasts since we didn't talk about Croc.
It has a lot of personality. It has a lot of charm.
Yeah. If Croc was a person, you'd say, I know them. They're pretty nice.
It
You're like,
also,
"What up,
for,
bro?"
What's he
for a
say?
long time, it
Splat.
had the prestigious on our rankings being worst game we played.
You're talking about it still
Generally
does.
received. I think
funny.
Super Dracula X took the cake. A lot of
Nah,
us really
I
didn't.
thought
Or no,
Facts Sanity was
sorry,
worse.
I think Clock Tower technically.
Facts
a lot
Sanity
of
was
us really
great.
didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I like
sanity
Fact
for me.
But we had like some 2s and 3s and 4s for Clock Tower, so.
I think Dracula X was the unanimous one that most of us hated.
I think we all agreed that it was just like, yeah.
We'll have to have this discussion.
We will
isn't that
have
next
this
month.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a double feature next month.
Worst game.
Obviously, this game we're sitting here just talking about the gameplay because it is gameplay, the video game. But
There's nothing else.
Super, I took offense to you saying it was. No, I'm just kidding. It's really funny this music because I really don't like the way the Genesis sounds in general. But this game has so many good tracks, in my opinion.
There
Like,
aren't that many, but yeah, I
yeah,
like them.
like
They're
the good tracks are good. The one like that starts. It's kind of like Dracula X. It starts with a really good track, but then this game just doesn't shit the bed on the rest of the music. Like that one, the music when it introduces, what's the name? 11 Tiger. Like that dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun. That like
yeah, totally.
with the little cutscene. Like that's super hype. And then there's the dark hallway I was talking about. Like that track is really good. And then near the end, when you fight Wolf Gunblood Goropa, the music actually like harkens back to like an earlier track. And when it kicks in, it's kind of like a okay, now you're gaming like kind of theme, and it just
Love that
like,
shit in video games.
yeah, the game's music like it fits that go go go, and it's just like
Yeah.
it always fits the mood in my opinion. And that's really weird for me because this is a Genesis game and I don't like the way the Genesis sounds, but I like the way this game sounds.
So I agree
So-
because. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm watching the gameplay here, and like there's a common thing I've noticed that There's a lot of enemies that are just stationary that just like vomit bullets at you. Like, is that like, do they put those guys there just to refill your health?
Yeah,
like,
the middle
That's what I
stages
use it
are
for.
pretty much like not what the game's about. Like the middle stages give you
Yeah.
like there might be a weapon canister, like here's a enemy that'll throw some projectiles at you so you can get a little bit of health back. But like the meat of the game is this frog
Boss
jumping into
fights.
the ceiling.
There are also fewer of those middle stages as the game goes on. Like
Yes.
most of them are in the beginning of the game.
And that mechanic of healing is also, I think, the meta of the game. How you beat it quickly is regenerating your health and using the Firebird, which is what you didn't like about the first boss.
Yeah.
So if you didn't
Well,
like
it's
it
not-
there,
I didn't like it because I feel like,
it's
I don't know, like I was fighting the boss like by shooting it, and like
me too.
I didn't
That's why I thought
like, and like it was like I was running out of time, and I was dashing through its attacks and stuff, but and then when I did get to the boss with my Firebird dash and I killed it instantly, I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't know, that it rubbed me the wrong way because like it felt like, okay, here's this mechanic that they really want you to use badly. Like they made it so crucial and so good that like
Really quick, sorry, Danny, was there an HP up behind that board?
No, there's
No,
a weapon
it was-
power up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Dog
I
climb the
didn't know
ceiling
that.
star.
Sorry, Super, continue your turn.
I don't know, it's just when the game has a mechanic that they really, really want you to use, so they make it so integral to the core gameplay. That's not really something that I like in games. Like in Doom Eternal, I keep coming back to this. Like they make your ammo capacity so low that you're running out of ammo constantly that you have to pull out your chainsaw to regenerate ammo.
Yeah,
Don't
that is
forget the
absolutely
flame belcher.
abhorrent in that game.
And your grenades.
Why would you not just take that step out and just give the player ammo? Like, what's the point? of
Because they got
chainsaw?
super pissed off that people were only using the super shotgun in Doom 2016. They were not going to stand for that.
I was
Put that
like,
shotgun
I
down.
loved using that thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
So do we think the Firebird?
I'm a
I
hater.
don't know. Do we think it would have been better if it was just like did less damage, or does it need to be reworked mechanically from the ground up?
I
Removed?
will put my piece in that it's the only problem with it is that it just dumps on some bosses and does no damage to others. So I would have liked it to just be a bit more consistently good, not either be like I will kill you instantly or I will do like 10% of your HP, because I thought it was really cool that if you could basically play really well, you could you could beat things even faster.
Yeah, I like that it was like a reward. It's like, all right, you're playing
Exactly,
clean.
yeah.
Here's your gamer cred.
That's
I
right.
think it's cool
The
that it
thing
hurts you though,
is-
so you can't spam it.
The thing is, though, like, it's such a dramatic. Like, it's a reward, yeah, but like like you were saying, on some bosses, like, it's like, oh, you got hit once, now you have to fight the boss the long and tedious, hard way. It's like, oh, you didn't get hit, well, busted.
So I think it's really... It does do a lot of damage, but from what I was seeing, it does like about half health on bosses, but in a lot of cases you don't get an opportunity to do it again. And for the most part, it's about finding the weak points. And if you do find the weak points and you're hitting the weak points, it's not. I don't think it takes dramatically longer. I feel it's pretty balanced. I don't think it's good. It's for sure it's good, and it's a great reward.
It's just kind of like icing on the cake. Like if you're wanting to do this as fast as possible, like you're aiming for having the Firebird. But if you don't, it's not like.
You don't need
Yeah,
it. to beat any of
I
the
understand
bosses,
that.
except for the first
No, I know
one.
you don't need it, but like,
I
it's
need
like
it for the first boss, straight up.
heavily implied
Sorry.
that they want you to do it.
Yeah, and I think it feels so good. There's a point. It was the Red Worm boss before Wolfgun Blood, where you do get a chance to do it multiple times, and just chaining those dashes, it feels amazing, and I would not change it at all.
Same, but I get where Super's coming from. I'm glad you brought that up, personally.
Yeah,
one
I'm not-
thing,
I-
though-
Anything
on.
that's too heavily like relied upon or like overused, it's like, I don't know, something that like it's like it feels shoehorned in a certain sense. Like you have this mechanic, you can use it if you want, and it changes the gameplay and such and such. But like when they obviously like designed everything around it that like where it becomes the game becomes a little less. I don't know. I don't want to say less fun, but it becomes different, like a lot different if you choose not to do it when it's intended to be done.
Yeah.
So,
This is not me trying to sound like a shitter, but like I know both of us like platforming games. Platforming games, all you do is jump. Like, so the game is based around
a lot of. But
like
the
original
thing about
Mario is
jumping,
fireballs and jump.
yeah, but the jumping in Mario is like very, very precise, and you can like you can
short
land.
jumps, big jumps.
You can land on like the pinhead in Mario. Like it's like surgical, like the jumping. And I mean, like in old Mario, yeah, most of it is just jumping, but there's other stuff going on too, like time. There's a lot of timing elements as well. But yeah, no, I see it. I understand what you're saying. It's more streamlined. And I like things that are more streamlined, I guess.
To the game's credit, though, you know, like the fire dash is a tool in your arsenal, but one of the things I like is you potentially have 4 out of your 6 weapons to choose from every attempt, at least on super easy. So what I like about that, though, is you don't have to restart and experiment all that much because you have 4 to 6 abilities, you know. So there isn't actually, and then with a lot of the bosses being on the easier side, I do appreciate, because I was really afraid, like, oh, I have to pick 6 weapons, or of 6 weapons, like,
yeah, like this is gonna get real complicated real fast.
Yeah, and for my experience, it really didn't. It was most of the time I'd run in and hit him with the Lancer, and then, oh, that doesn't do damage, let's try the home aim. And
so now that you mentioned the weapons, maybe one example I could give, something like, okay, so in Mega Man, you have all these different weapons at your disposal, right? But you don't have to use any of them. Like, the way I play Mega Man, I just use the Buster
only.
The levels. Yeah, and the bosses I use the weapons, but like a lot of people, like when I talk to them about Mega Man or they see me play Mega Man, they're like, "Wait, why aren't you using the weapons?" I don't know. It's just the way I like playing it. And it's like, you can, if you want to, you can, and it feels good and it works good, and it doesn't feel like the designers were like, no, you pick this weapon right now and you use it on this weak point. Like, thank you for letting me choose.
So I have a silly follow-up question that's too ambiguous in nature, but do you think if you could kill everything with the Buster in a general sense, do you think you would have liked the game more, Super?
Not necessarily. I feel like I would have liked it more if it wasn't apparent that, like, you were supposed to do this very specific thing at this very specific time. Like, obviously you can, like you guys were mentioning earlier, the game gives you a lot of freedom, but to me it felt like the design was very intentional. Like, a lot of the parts, like they had something very specific in mind that they wanted the player to do, and they tried to make it clear, like, this is what we want you to do. And there's just so many different things going on at once where it's, I don't know, I just feel like I'm having a hard time explaining.
No, I get the angle you're coming from.
Yeah, I feel like when you have this many things going on at once, like, let me decide which things I want to use in which specific ways, you know?
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I think you're right. My opinion, though, is that it's not as bad as maybe you think it is, or we have made it sound to be, because I think I'm going to throw out a number, but 95% of the game you can get by with all 6 weapons. Whatever you have is going to be fine. There's just a few balance problems, I think. Playtesting was insufficient, where certain weapons don't work. And I think that's bad. But generally speaking, I don't think it's quite as prescriptive as you might think it is. But
well, that's just one of my pet peeves in game design.
Yeah.
When that's partially why I hate like a lot of modern games, because it's like very like on a rail. Like I don't like when games try to tell you what to do. Basically, that's what I was saying.
Let me be me.
Yeah, let me fucking just play the game. Like I don't know. It's hard to express like the properly express this specific gripe I have with games in general, not just this game, but like I keep mentioning Doom Eternal. Like it's like the exact same feeling I get with Doom Eternal in this game, the same exact thing.
I understand the Doom Eternal comparison, though. I did come around on Doom Eternal eventually. I also don't think this game is nearly as restrictive to that extent.
Chris,
No,
I feel
it's
like you
not,
had
but it's
thought.
just the idea of that existing at all in any degree, to any degree at all. Like that just turns me off immediately.
It's like one is too many.
Yeah.
Chris, you had a thought earlier. I don't know if you.
Oh, I was just probably. I think I was going to say something about Doom Eternal. Again, my brain is Swiss cheese.
Actually, lobsters on the screen. Man.
There are lobsters on the screen. Super talking about Mega Man and just using the Buster actually makes me want to try this with 4 Buster Forces.
Dude, what the heck?
Because I think you can do that.
Man.
I was picking. I know this is me like not playing the game correctly, but like I was like fucking let me play it. I was just picking 4 Buster Forces.
Quad Buster.
So I think that's viable.
Shoot them.
Yeah, I think Buster Force is like the one weapon that's kind of all-purpose.
So by the end, used the Buster.
On easy mode, I was using 4 Lancers, and that was totally good.
Like Danny, you have 2 Buster Forces right now. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree. I don't think it's viable. I don't think you can beat the game like that.
What
Feel
boss
free to do it.
hurts you, or like what boss can't be hurt by Buster Force?
Yeah, what
It's
boss
not
hurt
that they
you?
can't. And you hear all of them hurt. It's not that you can't. It's that the damage windows with the timer are not big enough for you to do enough damage in the time you have.
One
That's
that comes
probably a
to
good
mind
point.
for me is in the 7 Force or whatever, that green guy when you're flying around and he only opens himself up for like 2 seconds. I was only
Oh, you
able
can
to-
get him to open up longer.
Yeah.
Wait.
Like,
Oh no, I know. But I would bait him up, and I would still only be able to get like a Lancer shot in.
Give me the controller.
isn't it? Yeah. It's called Sylphid Force. Darth,
You're
please.
playing it wrong.
All right, fine then. Do it, Danny. Do it.
I'm doing it.
Have fun. Yeah. Great. See you in 6 months.
Shut up.
Also,
but yeah,
on this like crayfish boss, I thought we were moving the screen, not moving the boat. Sorry, Danny.
Oh no, you're fine.
Now that I see it again.
I just like that we've been calling it a lobster the whole time, and all of a sudden it's a
He's the
crawfish.
crayfish. He's the crawdad boss.
The crustacean.
Crawdad.
He's crawdad.
Dang old crawdad.
What's its
boss.
canonical name? That's the big question.
Steel
Edward.
Snap.
Oh, of course.
It's a Gibdo.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's a Gibdo. It's a Redead.
Citizen Snips.
Citizen Snips.
Captain Falcon.
Oh, I was gonna interject with my obligatory "this game feels amazing" on original hardware comment because
Definitely.
it's so responsive. It feels incredible.
I bet.
Really responsive on my emulator and LCD monitor.
I have a Mister. If you guys didn't know, I have a Mister.
Mister. Chris is using a CRT and
And an actual Mega Drive from
That's right.
Nippon.
the Genesis itself. But I actually just looked at the time, so I think it's time to get our closing thoughts. So since I started, I will go last. But anybody who would like to offer themselves first.
I'll go first, since I went last, and also since my opinion is radically different than everybody else's. I will say a few things. I don't have a lot to say, but it's this game. I can appreciate it fully. I see what it's setting out to do, and I think it accomplishes what it's setting out to do. And I think it's an important game in the sense that it's so damn unique. Like I mean, it's a running gun, but find another running gun that's anything like this. I dare you. It's just not for me. but I understand completely, and I respect it, and I appreciate it. And that's all I have to say.
Also, Genesis sucks.
Are we supposed to say what we put?
Oh yeah, my score. 4 out of 10.
Oh shit!
Ouch.
Damn.
That's the clock tower score. How dare you?
How dare you give it this game a clock tower score?
Croc wins again. I'll go next.
Is it better than Croc?
No.
Okay, fair enough. So, yeah, this game provided me with a lot of accessibility and I guess just the ease of access that a lot of games this generation didn't. And I thought that it had more interesting bosses than I've ever seen in a game like this before, and I really enjoyed Contra. I like Contra a lot, and this game felt more like, it felt more like Contra than a lot of other games, but it was more of an emphasis on boss fights, which I thought was really refreshing. And yeah, a lot of the reasons why I like Contra, I like this game, and plus it had a lot of cool tech that you could do, which I always like in games. I always like a good risk-reward, a skill, a high skill ceiling, and I feel like this game provided a lot of those things. I think probably due to the fact that it's not probably my favorite genre, I won't give it a perfect score, because it's a subjective score. So I'm gonna put it at an 8.5 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it and I didn't have a ton of issues with it, especially being able to play on my preferred mode, and it was really solid. And I'll say honestly, for me, I think the music was actually a bit mid music.
You're mid.
Agreed.
Okay. So that's another sort of knock against it from perfection. And there's just some little things about it, balance things we talked about. So not perfect, but 8.5 out of 10. Very good.
Can I go next?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
that's what we came for.
I've been super excited to talk about this game all month. I feel I haven't gushed about it enough for how much I enjoy it. I think this game is incredible. I think it's the best game of the games that we've played, and I really love Shinobi 3 and Contra 3 a lot. I'm really impressed by how sophisticated and ahead of its time the design is. I think the difficulty it's super fair, and I think it's got some good accessibility in terms of just being beginner friendly, because you can kind of practice and learn it, and it's a game you want to keep coming back to and mastering. I don't know what else. I guess I got to give it a something. 10 Wolfgun Bloods at a 11 Mega Drive custom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dang.
Yeah, this game's, I think, the best one we've played.
Someone run the unit conversion on that.
I'm calculating it right now. It's going through the server.
I'll go real quick. I feel you guys know I like doing game dev as a hobby. I feel really inspired, specifically after this conversation, knowing now that this was primarily one dev, because it's a crazy vision story-wise, but I think the design intentions are reflected really well, just how most people approach this game. Given with what we talked about, it has some kind of atypical designs like a timer and ammo and things that a lot of people don't like. And I'd go even one step further and say, even though I'm very open-minded for older antiquated games that, surface value, I had no interest in this game when I'd seen it years prior. I feel even more open-minded to be surprised and delighted by games. I enjoyed this one so much. So I'm going to give it the prestigious score of also Darth's 8.5 out of 10.
Juicy.
That's big.
Huge.
Big.
All right, Colin.
It's funny. I really don't know what else to say other than what I've already said. I think I want to give this an 8. the sort of like balance hang-ups we talked about with you being able to kind of like soft lock yourself into a boss fight with weapons that just don't work, and problems with menu like item switching and the timer. A lot of these things like that are like nickel and dimey problems when combined are worse, like sort of in an exponential way, and they can really bring down the experience. And I'm glad Super had his perspective to balance our own, because everybody was really glowing about it, and it was just refreshing, and tempered my own, because I was probably leaning more toward like an 8.5, but the points were well made and well taken. So I think an 8 is probably where I land. I would say that what's really neat though about this game is my own personal like journey with how I started it. I was like, I'm gonna hate this game. Super knew I was gonna hate this game. Like from the start, I was like, man, Danny picks these hard fucking games. I'm too old for this shit. I don't care anymore. And when I actually got into playing it, even though I was using save states, like I could go back and play this in super easy and have a really fun time, and not feel like, damn, I just have to beat this for book club and fuck my life. Nothing like that. Like it was a good time. Problems aside, it was a lot of fun to play, which when you come right down to it is what we're here for, and to celebrate why things work and why they don't. And so I'm glad it was picked. I'm glad we played it, and an 8 is what I think it deserves.
Cool.
Fair. I like it. So it's funny like how we all have our like preconceived notions of like, oh man, so-and-so's gonna hate this game. So I've kind of been dreading it landing on this, because like you said, Colin, I thought he's fucking picking one of those hard video games. He just wants to torture us. He's but I had the moment of Darth messaging Holden, no man, it's important to Colin, you gotta finish it. But in my own head, that I was like, I'm thinking Colin needs to play this game, because if he really plays it, man, he's gonna really like it. Like, kind of in my head, I'm like, he's just gonna get past it. And that's why it makes me really happy, and especially you as well, Chris, because I was thinking, man, Chris is gonna get frustrated. It's gonna be not a good experience. He's gonna beat it out of spite. Like, it's gonna be ugly. So to hear that like the game actually resonated in the same reasons I like it, like that it's just it's a tight video game. It's a tight experience, and like in controlling, in like the way it looks, the way it flows, and the fact that like it conveys that as well as I see it, makes me happy. And like with Super's take, it's like it also shows like, every game is not for everybody, and that's perfectly fine. Like every game's not going to be for everybody, and like I absolutely get that. And it's just, but as a package, as somebody who just like, I like to push buttons on a controller, I like to move the D-pad back and forth, this game just hits that lizard brain itch for me. So it's like I could right after this launch it up and just do a run and be like, fuck, Buster Force, let's go crazy.
Busters.
Exactly, I'm gonna do it. I want to see. But it's just the fact that every boss is a unique encounter. Like some of them have their hitches, some ugliness, and it's just as an entire package experience, as somebody who just wants to sit down and play a video game, like this game just it hits that spot for me, which is why I'm gonna give it a dong sucking 9. But I just love this game. Like it's always fun. It's never not fun.
Respect
I
it.
think you said before that 9s were reserved for like Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, like my favorite games, and this is one of my favorite games.
Cool.
It's definitely one of my. It might be my new favorite Genesis game, and definitely one of my favorite 16-bit games. It'll be something I come back to for sure.
Yeah, I feel it.
All right, well, so that's our closing thoughts. And
one question. Sorry, Danny.
Go ahead.
I interrupted you. When you were talking about Lizard Brain, I keep wanting to compare this to Melee for some reason, and it's hard to explain why. I can't really, because it doesn't really make sense. But when I think about how it feels to play it, it just kind of makes sense. Am I the only one of the
No,
dark?
I agree.
No,
I agree,
yeah,
actually.
it's just
I felt the same way when I was
you have to
playing
be
it. I was
really
like, this is nice, but I would see
deliberate.
why Danny likes it. To be honest, that looks fine. Also top it.
Okay.
Captain Falcon, my favorite character.
Okay, cool. Glad to know I'm not crazy. Sorry to interrupt your outro.
No, you're perfectly fine. I was just gonna say everybody's favorite portion, the wheel, is not gonna be joining us today.
Oh.
Part
Wait,
of me
should
wants
we-
to be like, can we just spin for the next month?
Yeah.
after?
Yeah.
But
Then what are we gonna do at the end of both
Yeah, you're right.
episodes?
Wait,
I
no.
can wait one time.
But at the end of the next one, we can spin for the next long game. Right?
Hey,
This is not a good idea.
Why
I like
not?
it.
Well, so we have to do our end of year and long game stream, so that will give us 2 opportunities for spins.
Okay, well then you gotta open up a Counter-Strike case if we're not gonna spend it.
Something's got to
And
spin,
stream.
damn it!
Stream your credit
Get you
card
over
number.
here.
Also,
Oh,
fuck
no.
this boss. This boss sucks.
That's
The
the other
English version of this
Epsilon.
title screen is not as good as the Japanese one.
It's the evil Epsilon. You're playing as the possibly good Epsilon with a tattoo on his bicep.
I think another important thing to mention is happy birthday, Danny.
Oh yeah, happy birthday,
Happy
Donnie.
birthday.
Thank you.
What
Thank
is
you.
it?
Birthday special.
That's right, the birthday special episode, where I get a cake shoved in my face. But yeah, no wheel. Nobody get hyped for the wheel. But I guess that's where we announced that we will be doing KOTOR, Video Game Book Club long episode, where we sit down and have a real juicy discussion about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Is it a longer discussion?
It's good. Yeah,
Within 3 hours. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say we need like an extra hour.
It's block
I
like
agree.
8 hours.
Yeah. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a 12-hour stream.
Everybody, take off work. The stream's gonna start at 10 a.m. Go to 10 p.m. It's gonna be crazy.
Would you guys, those of you who have not played it, consider it a spoiler to know clock time on finished files
No.
in terms of booking time?
It's
No.
a long game.
Oh no,
That's
someone
not a
please tell
spoiler.
me.
Yeah. You can say.
Not a spoiler. Okay, so it took me, I want to say it was like 34 hours.
That's it?
Really?
I eat 34 hours for breakfast.
Maybe like
I have
it's like 34, 36,
37.6
something like that.
is
Yeah.
how long it took
Okay,
me.
that's like okay. Yeah,
Did
I
you
was not
guys-
far off when I thought it
Actually,
was like Mass Effect 1. Like,
Yeah, I just want to make sure we are not like scrambling, or you guys are not scrambling. That
I
was
was thinking like way more than that. So, thank you. That's good
Sure.
information.
You're welcome.
Now I can procrastinate even better.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh,
Don't
look
do
at
it,
me.
man.
Actually, it took me
Don't.
It's
80
been 2
hours.
days.
That was. But yeah.
80 hours.
So look forward
Scalpel.
to the end of the year where we have a extra healthy serving of Video Game Book Club where we go over Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm ready for that to be a real one. Like they're all real ones, but that one's gonna be an extra real one.
Oh yeah.
But
That's an
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, got
wait
some
till
opinions.
Darth gives your long book club a 3 out of 10, dude. That's gonna hit different.
Darth, don't you dare.
He's gonna tell me that he pooped out better D&D campaigns.
Anyways, we got that to look forward to at the end of the month. But for now, thanks, fellas. Chris, Colin, Holden, Darth, Super. It's a good time. I'm glad that we're back here talking about video games, and we'll be back here to talk about a new. Is KOTOR going to be the newest game that we're going to talk about? Like by far?
Yeah.
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 At least 8 years.
So I feel like that'll definitely be really interesting. But until the end of the month, gentlemen, always a pleasure. I will see you guys there.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
See
Goodbye.
you then.
Hey.
Squall! Squall! I don't know why they did a Birdman thing. Everybody, listen along at home. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at the end of the month for Video Game Book Club Long Edition Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. But until then, everybody, see you later.